What happens when your fear is so deep you can't even name it? Here's the truth. Fear does not come from danger. Fear comes from uncertainty. And most people are so afraid of uncertainty that they don't even realize they're being controlled by a fear they don't even understand. Watch this live all the way through because tonight I'm going to show you how to defeat uncertainty forever and take back every ounce of fear and every ounce of power that fear ever stole from you. See, because what's going on is, I think a lot of times we get into the situation where we're thinking, if there's not an immediate danger, then surely my life is flowing according to plan. I'm not really afraid of anything. I can't recognize a fear, therefore, there must not be any present. But I'm telling you this, the fear that is a problem is the fear you can't name. The fear that's quietly being a puppet master, pulling the strings behind the scenes, making you think you're in control when actually you're abiding by the rules set forth from a quiet uncertainty. This is a real conversation. People get into the situation where we start thinking like, okay, well, I don't feel any heart palpitations. I'm not afraid right now. I'm telling you, when you can feel heart palpitations, that's late stage fear. I'm talking about the deep rooted, deep seated conditioning that's quietly guiding 99.9% of human lives. And so on tonight, we deal with that. If you're ready to live free beyond fear, welcome here. I'm Dr. Shawn, and I believe you do not need years to heal. You just need one real breakthrough. That's why I invented Transcendent Psychology and I tested in the real world on real people on my game show, Countdown to Breakthrough, the only game show that heals your soul. Right now, you're on the Breakthrough Live, where we break down the science of healing so that you get your own breakthrough. Live. On tonight's show, it's come to my attention that we have to actually, at some point, start addressing and talking about this undergirding in the back of the mind fear that is actually guiding behaviors. I'm going to show you how this was working, how I spotted this in my own life. And you know what? As a matter of fact, I want to start with a clip from Countdown to Breakthrough. This clip is going to set up our conversation and our lesson for the evening. Let's get to it.
Time. But this is bigger than that for me now. That's because I know what it's like to feel weighed down by the world. My heart sinking. But I just don't want to do it the way other people are doing it. I don't want to just put out content every single day and just be another talking head. I really want to create things that are impactful. Right now, I am in Tahiti. I'm going to go to a park. I weigh 165 pounds, and I'm going to make it so that people cannot pick me up. It's a cool way to kind of express the power of the mind over reality. I know what it's like for the world to tell me what I'll never be able to do.
That's very complicated. Like, I don't even know what that means. I'm just saying this, and you need to hear this from me directly. The cinematic way to teach someone will not work with the approach of taking something as complicated as what you're trying to teach them.
My stomach dropping. Or what it's like to give up on myself. Like I was playing a game I'd always lose. Believing what they said after all.
Okay, so there we are. Look, I was talking to one of the top gurus on the earth for YouTube. This was probably, a year and a half ago. And straight up, they were like, look, what you're trying to do is not going to work. Like, I'm in Tahiti having this conversation, and what I'm saying, I'm looking out over the water. I'm like super stoked out. I'm like, oh man, what I'm saying, I can't believe I get to do this. I finally got to a place in my life where I get to do whatever I want to do. And somebody's telling me, hey, yo, this is not going to work. You cannot teach in this cinematic style that you want to teach in and have people get it at the same time. I was crushed. I was like, oh. And so our conversation today really gets at this point of fear. What happens when you're investing in something, when you're building something, and you've got the top folks in the world telling you that you can't do it how you want to do it, right? That if the actual conversation, if I were to show you more, they were like, well, you need to basically take whatever, like do that later. Basically do this other thing, and then you can do that stuff. Everything else that you want to do, you can do that later. And that violates one of my core principles, which is I don't do things in order to get things, but I didn't know that at that particular time. I didn't know that that was one of my central principles, that was becoming one of my central principles. So I was like, man, am I really just out here wasting money? Am I really just out here wasting time? I want to do something that has never been done before, and here's somebody telling me that whatever risk I'm taking simply they're simply not worth it. It will yield no result. And so in order to understand what that meant, it's like I gotta take you back. Okay, so I gotta take you back. I came from an environment where, I thought that if I just did well enough in school, you dig what I'm saying? If I was just at the university, I spent all of my 20s making about $15,000 a year in graduate school, right? You know what I'm saying? My core assumption of the world was that if we can just teach people and give people knowledge or information, that will somehow change behavior. That was my core assumption, that people will do better when they know, when they have more information. I didn't understand the difference between knowledge and wisdom, between knowing something and actually being able to do that. And when I saw that the universities were no longer a place, they were never supposed to necessarily be a place where people are teaching wisdom, but where people are getting information, and that's fine. But ultimately, the universities were not the spot for me to do what I could feel God had placed on my heart to do. And by God, I mean what was natural for me to do, what was in alignment with nature for me to do. And so there was massive fear and uncertainty when it came to deciding what to do next. You just built your entire life around being a university professor. And now you're telling me that that goal will no longer do what you thought it was going to do. So then what happens? I start getting into sales. I become, I start doing really well. My PhD's in persuasion. So I was like, okay, cool. Let me take this. I'll go and drop into a sales firm, tech sales. Started doing well. Started noticing how people behave when you're outside of the textbooks, you're outside of the classrooms, and you're real life with real people. You dig what I'm saying? And from that, within a year, I was already selling technology, so I started investing in technology, and then my life changed by the time I was 30. By the time I was 30, I was retired. I was done working for money. And so by the time I'm speaking with this YouTube guru in the clip I just showed you, like I had finally figured out what I wanted to do with my life. I had finally figured out, because after the retirement joint, like, you're 30, but now you're just like walking around. Okay, you go travel here, you go do this thing over here, you go hang out, you go do whatever the case. But what you quickly find out is that without purpose, all of that extra time is meaningless. It's like I'm sitting here walking around the city. I moved downtown. I'm, Austin, whatever. I'm sitting here walking around the city, and I'm trying to figure out what I'm on the planet to do. And by the time it became clear what I was here to do, by the time it was, oh, wait, you need to raise the consciousness. You didn't just spend all of these years in graduate school and understanding what the world is like through textbooks, but then also using the time that you have to build relationships. Of course, graduate school is where I met the teacher. The teacher is that Taoist mystic that I train with, basically throughout the entire process. So on the side, we had built this spiritual laboratory that we were able to get into these deep, deep, deep states of meditation. We were able to practice astral projection. We were able to work with the energy sciences. We were able to work with these different modalities. And then during the day, I would be in classrooms and I would be teaching and all that. You dig what I'm saying? And so to come out of all that, finally understand what it is to be successful in the world financially, it was like by the time I'm 30, I'm like, dang, I don't know, like, what do I do with all of this experience? What do I do? It took me years, probably 2 years, to get to an understanding of, actually speaking is important to me. Actually, storytelling is important to me. Actually, raising consciousness is important to me. Actually, being present is important to me. Actually, allowing spirit to move through me so that it can communicate what it needs to people who need to hear it at the moment they need to hear it. That's important to me. Okay. Well, where can I do that at? Oh, you can go on YouTube. Okay, cool. So I start the channel. But then, like, I start the channel and I want to do it like in a cinematic, you know what I'm saying? I'm not trying to just like be somebody just talking online. I wanted to do it like in a cinematic way, right? So the first 60 videos that I ever did on YouTube were cinematic style spiritual messages. Okay, cool. I started seeing they kind of got a little bit of traction. Okay, cool. In the beginning, and then I started seeing that no matter what I uploaded to YouTube, the views just went through the floor. Oh boy, I was deflated. I was like, oh dang. Now what? all that time spent looking to find purpose, believing I had found it, only for it to not be responded, to be received well by people, to be received, or by the algorithm. People never even got to see it, but to be received well by other people. You dig what I'm saying? So I start this channel, and what I'm expecting from it is not what I get from it. What I get from it is actually something much different. It's like in showing up to do this work, the work ends up working on me. And so when it comes to this conversation about how do we deal with this fear, how do we deal with this uncertainty, what's going to happen to you for the rest of your life, right? You are investing in projects that people aren't even seeing. How do you deal with that, and how do you make sure that you don't get into the habit of doing things in order to get things? Okay, so I said followers, fans, subscribers. That's what my conversation with the number one guru was about. But should it have been? Should that have been my conversation? So I was wanting to work with him because I was hoping that he would be able to reduce my uncertainty, my fear that things were not going to work out. I was hoping that he would be able to reduce that for me, and he made it worse. But he made it worse trying to make it, trying to just be honest. He was just trying to be as honest as far as he could see. He was trying to be honest with me. You dig what I'm saying? So it's no shot at him. He was literally just trying to articulate for me what he knew. But it only deepened my sense that maybe I was wrong. And so what happens is this. I went through a subtle period, just a subtle, quick moments of blaming him and being like, oh, he don't even understand what a true artist is and all this, right? So blame was the initial reaction, and then bargaining became the second reaction, right? This idea that after he says that, I start thinking, oh, okay, well, maybe I can just do some of the format that he's talking about, just do some teaching videos, and then hopefully maybe they can get people to go do this other thing later. Let me just do this thing so I can get this thing. That's how we're taught. Let me just do this thing so I can go get this thing. Why do we do that? Because we're looking to relieve the uncertainty. I was looking to relieve the uncertainty that I felt because I was afraid that if I did not, that all of my efforts would have been for nothing. And then perhaps even that my life up to that point would have been for nothing. Everybody thinks that you want to retire. You want to go do these different. That's cool. The Demi is cool. But I'm telling you this. You do that retirement thing. Like you can always tell when somebody's a new retiree. You know what I'm saying? Like the excitement's fresh, bro. But live that way for a few years. And if you're not on purpose, eventually you're going to start walking around and being like, what is the point? Like, what are we actually doing? And so because it had taken me years to get to the place where I thought I knew what my purpose was, for somebody to come through and say, oh, no, that ain't gonna work. It was like, oh boy, you immediately went into blame and bargaining. Blame and bargaining. Quick. It was fast, just a little phase. These are thoughts that I just passed through, but enough for me to recite them for you today. Because if I'm going through blame and bargaining, I know I didn't just make up those strategies. I had learned them somewhere. Immediately I started blaming somebody else, and I started trying to bargain with what they were saying. Like, okay, well, if they are right, then maybe I need to go do this other thing that I really don't want to do at this particular moment so that I can go and get this other thing. Start doing blaming and bargaining. Why? Because I'm looking to relieve the uncertainty. Why am I looking to relieve the uncertainty? Is because I'm afraid. Hmm. Hmm. So there's one way to get through this. One way that I found to get through this. If you're understanding what I'm saying, put a yes in the chat. I want to make sure that you're getting. As a matter of fact, let me check out the chat real quick. Okay, Twin is in the building. Good evening, everyone. That had to be a bit of a soul crusher or pure enlightenment. Twin, what I mean, like all of the above. Okay, Felicity, my wife's in the room. She's saying hello, all. Welcome in, Felicity. Okay, Sublime, welcome in, Sublime. Welcome in. Uh, the other twin is in the room. Good evening, Dr. Shawn. Good evening to everyone. Good evening to you, twin. Okay. Uh, and then Sublime saying, wow, just another reason why I don't ask permission to do what I feel called to do. Dude, I like work. You know what I'm saying? Like, don't ask permission to do what you feel called to do. But it's all of the, and I want to make sure I'm being clear here. It's all of the little collective, the little bargaining chips that we start putting on the table. Like, oh, okay, well, yeah, I want to do this thing over here and I'm going to do it. But let me just go ahead and do this other thing first. So for a lot of folks that looks like, okay, I want to start this business, but let me not go and start working on that just yet. Let me make sure that I save up all of the money that I need first before I start looking into the thing. It always feels logical is what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that I found for myself, and I've seen it in other people, where the fear of uncertainty, our way to redress or address that fear is to bring forth a veneer of pragmatism, bring forth a plan that we think makes logical sense, but underneath it is all of this energy of fear telling us that we need to abandon what God has placed in us in order to do some other precursor, some other prerequisite, get some other requirement first. What I'm saying is that fear can be so subtle that you hardly even recognize it is guiding your behaviors. That fear can be so subtle that you hardly even recognize that it is guiding your behaviors. Like a puppet master in the back, pulling on the strings of your thoughts and feelings, guiding you to take actions that you otherwise would not do were you not afraid. So what's the path forward? What's the principle? How do we avoid, or better yet, how do we transcend such a scenario? How do we transcend such a scenario? For that, we go to the board. I'm calling this the breakthrough board now. Okay, we're about to go straight to the lesson. The breakthrough board. Spiritual truth seeker 1901. I need to know your name. Okay, because anybody who comes in this room needs to be welcomed. You need to be welcomed personally. I want to know your name. Drop your name in the chat if you are listening. And because I want to make sure that I shout you out for coming through to the room. I want to make a spiritual truth seeker 1901 just sounds super long. So okay, I'm hearing yes, 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 yes. Okay, so folks are understanding what I'm saying. That this tacit fear, this fear of the unknown, this fear of what will happen if, who would I be if, that this fear operates in the background and compromises our capacity for quality decision making, compromises our capacity for thinking in a way that is actually true for us. Uh, uh, Gets us doing things in order to get things rather than just doing the things that we're called to do because it's loving to do them. Oh. That's what happens when we deal with this notion of uncertainty. When we allow this fear to just quietly corrode our inner thoughts. And that fear ends up becoming the captain of the ship. Unfortunately, it's dressed up just like logic. So when we stress test it with other people, they're liable to say, oh, yeah, that does make sense. So we end up getting a confirmation bias from other people based on a logic that's predicated on fear. Dang. Dang. Sublime saying, yeah, I get that. Excellent. Yeah. Yeah, I get that for sure. Okay, so here we go. At some point, we're going to need to talk about how do we get out of this? How is it that we can move through this quiet, almost it's like a subconscious fear, the one that gets us blaming and bargaining, blaming somebody else. And remember, I got the book Spiritual Responsibility back here. I'm all about it. But if I can see that even my thoughts will switch to blame, if the fear is jacked up high enough, oh no, we got a problem. we got, we got a problem. So no, I got to make sure we get to the bottom of this on tonight. Because the first step is blame. Oh, they don't know what they're talking about. But then we start questioning that. What if they do know what they're talking about? I mean, they are the number one guru in the world for a reason, you know what I'm saying? So what if they do know what they're talking about? Ooh. Number two, stage two after the blame is the bargaining. Okay, well, let me just kind of reconcile what they're saying with what I want to do, and maybe I can do it like this, and then I can put this over here. And the crazy part is that when I say that fear is guiding this logic, you start to blame, then you start to bargain, then you start to create plans based off of the fear that masquerades as logic, and you end up with a very elegant blueprint for doing anything but God's will. When I say God, I mean that which comes most naturally to us. Your purpose for being, your reason for being. Oh, somebody needs to hear this. Yeah, hey, and it might be me, okay? So here we go. You know I love to teach from principle. You know I love to teach from principle. Good day, Dr. Shawn. My name is Shar. Shar. Welcome in. Welcome in. Welcome in. So beautiful to have you. Okay, so thank you for your acknowledgement of my frequency upon your channel. Absolutely, absolutely. The 1901 love from night. What? Okay. Now I gotta. All right, hold on, twin. I'm trying to figure out what you're saying. I gotta enlarge this though. Love the 1901. Okay, excellent, excellent, excellent. So twin is shouting you out, Shar. He's saying I love the 1901. He recognizes the real. Okay, excellent. So you know I love to teach from principle. In transcendent psychology, I want you to understand the principle of a thing. Once you get the principle, you can put together everything else from there. So what's the principle on tonight? I got my breakthrough board. Okay. What's the principle on tonight? The principle is this. The principle is this, that fear controls you when you feel that uncertainty is greater than the danger. I'm saying that fear controls you when you mistake uncertainty for danger. So even that's a better equation here. That fear controls you when you mistake uncertainty for danger. When you set these equal to one another, that's the moment that fear gets you. That's when it is quietly running the show. I want to make sure I say this again. That fear controls you when uncertainty is mistaken for danger. Because what happens is we start thinking that just because we don't know what's going to happen next, that somehow we're in trouble. That just because we can't tell if we'll survive the ordeal, that somehow that needs to be a problem. Instead, we start thinking that just because we don't know if we will survive the ordeal, that needs to be a problem. Folks, I need you to catch what I'm saying on tonight. I need you to catch what I'm saying. Right now, I'm just talking about YouTubes and videos, but we could easily be talking about health scares. Someone gets diagnosed, stage 4, and that uncertainty of whether or not they will be able to see their children grow up, watch their grandchildren grow up. It's the same root of fear. That same sense that uncertainty means problem, that uncertainty, that view out into the future, that must mean suffering. When life becomes uncertain, we start thinking that is a problem. And so the principle that fear controls you when you mistake uncertainty for danger, that's a principle we want to understand now. The pattern. What's the pattern behind all this? What's the pattern behind all this? The pattern is this. See if I can get us out the light here. Yeah. All right. Just like last week, we talked about behold the soul. The soul is the complete totality. The soul is the full circle. But the pattern that we're discovering on tonight is that fear can only happen in separation. That's the pattern. That fear itself can only happen in separation. When you, as a complete and unified being, you as a complete and unified soul, you as the totality of existence. I'm not just talking about a physical body, I'm talking about the deep self, the very fabric of reality. When you bifurcate that into a separate self, a tiny person, the tiny me, now that fear can take root. Because fear needs an external world to be threatened by. Fear requires this separation. It needs the external world in order to be threatened. How would you be afraid if you were completely infinite and there was nothing but you? What would be there to threaten you? So this is the pattern of the mind, that the moment we take with thought, with emotion, with feeling, and conjure up the illusion of separation, now we can be afraid. This is the pattern. That when the mind creates this separation, this binary opposition, when I say binary opposition, that's really an academic term. It just means cutting the world up into two. It means duality. It means saying, this is me, that's not me. This is my stuff, that's not my stuff. This is safe, that is danger. Fear requires an individual self that stands apart from the whole. Because only this little tiny self can be threatened in the first place. All right, folks, I'm back. I think my joint just went black, but we back. Okay, so I want to make sure I'm still being clear about this. Is it still? It's not still out, is it? Can y'all see it? I can see it. So let me know if y'all can still see my screen. Just put a yes in the chat. Okay. You saying screen is out? Let me know if it's back. Okay, we back. All right, cool. Never had that's all right. Okay, all good. Okay, cool. Okay. So let me make sure I'm that y'all are following me. I just want to make sure before we move on that we have the principle, right? The principle being that fear controls you when you mistake uncertainty for danger. The pattern of mind that we're exploring right now is the capacity for the mind to separate from total reality, unified reality, your total self, the great divine. The mind's capacity to separate from total reality, yourself, into a tiny little me that can be threatened This is the start of all fear. This is the pattern, the way that all fear works. That there must be a tiny self that can be threatened in order for this tiny self to experience fear in the first place. If you're understanding this, put a yes in the chat. If you're understanding this, put a yes in the chat, because our next piece, after we've understood the principle, the pattern, we need to understand the path forward. Put a yes in the chat if it's clear so far. If not, let me handle any questions. Okay, so Valente, Valente, welcome in, welcome in. Valente is saying yes. Okay, Twin saying yes. All right, put another yes in the chat, because I'm like, okay, I don't know. Am I still reading from yes from the screen being black, or yes because y'all understand what I'm saying? Let me know. Okay, excellent, excellent. So so here we go. Behold the soul, no beginning, no ending, forever eternal. Behold the soul. We know that the principle is that fear controls you. Once you make uncertainty the same thing as danger, that's the principle. The pattern is that the mind has a capacity through your thought to create a tiny me, a tiny self. This is who you truly are, but this is the self that can be afraid. This tiny little thing over here, this one that's afraid of not having a purpose, that's afraid of dying, that's afraid of not having enough, that's afraid of going broke. That's this little one, okay? This little one. So now that we've talked about the principle, we've talked about the pattern, we need to now talk about the path forward. And the path forward is to return to totality. You must return to the perception of totality. I'm saying the path forward is to return. Get right here. Make sure. There we go. The path forward is to return to the perception of totality. That's what this little guy or little gal, or little person is doing. Their line of vision has now expanded so that they are now seeing a complete perception of totality. They are going to begin to merge back with the unity of experience. They're going to return to the lap of God. These are just ways of saying coming back to the perception of totality, expanding your perception beyond your skin, beyond the domain of the body, and linking back with a infinite substance that goes by many names. That's the path forward. That's the path forward. Why is that the path forward? Because I'm saying only when You can see your problem. Let me see if I can get little man in the place. It's only when you can see your problem, not from the perspective of the little one, but see this little one's problem from the perspective of the true one, of the total one. Being able to see your problems from the perspective of the total one. Okay. That's the path forward. So for me, what that meant was returning to a place where, yes, I can hear what the number one guru in the world is saying. I could hear. I understand what he's talking about. Logically, I get it. It makes a lot of sense. And he was saying the right thing if I was a person who was first and foremost interested in fans and followers and subscribers and new money. If I was a person who was first and foremost interested in fans and followers and subscribers and new money, I probably would have just listened to what he was talking about. I would have just did what he talking about. Wouldn't be a countdown to breakthrough, because I needed Tahiti in order to see for myself that, oh wait, I actually love interacting with people. That's the thing I can't do if I'm just in the back making YouTube videos as a talking head. So I had to see, oh wait, I really actually love interacting with people. I didn't know that about me. It makes sense if you look back over my timeline, but it didn't make sense to me at that time. Without Tahiti, I would have never experienced what it's like to bring these kinds of messages to people on the street and the fulfillment that that gives. And not only that, but the actual product I'm able to create once I do that. Wouldn't have seen it. There would have never been anything like a countdown to breakthrough. The game show wouldn't have existed. Tahiti wasn't even countdown to breakthrough. That was just me getting the first experiences that would lead to countdown to breakthrough. That would lead to the game show where I'm running up on people on the streets. If I was first and foremost interested in subscribers and fans and cash, I would have just followed what old buddy was saying. I'd have been like, oh, yep, all right, cool. But because I am principally interested in God, because I am principally interested in totality, because I am principally interested in following love, following my highest excitement, understanding that when I do, the God frequency is working through me. Because that is actually the thing that I care about the most. It was that experience and that conversation with that man that made me say, you know what? I will no longer do things to get things. I said, I will no longer do things to get things. I'm not going to put God's will on pause so I can go and try and get a subscriber. I'm not going to put God's will on pause so I can go and put out videos on a daily basis. It takes me 6 months. It took me a year to make all of Countdown to Breakthrough, which means I disappeared off of YouTube for 6 months just to develop it, another 6 to edit, do all of it, you know what I'm saying, all this stuff. And it was amazing. It was one of the most amazing experiences. Now, ultimately, we talking, whatever else we're talking about comes second to this experience of being lived by love. Remember, when I say love, I'm talking about experiencing reality. I'm talking about love is oneness. Love is oneness, or you could say love is reality itself felt. Love is reality itself when felt. It is the totality. There is no separation in it, which means that to be lived by that love is to be lived by God itself. By God, of course, I mean the basis of reality, the very fabric of existence. And what happens when I do is that I begin to access a freedom that money cannot buy. Remember, 30 years old, I remember what it's like walking the streets. You ain't got nothing to do. You got your whole day to read and eat wherever you want to eat. Do you know what I'm saying? Do it like you start putting on extra weight just because you can, you go anywhere doing whatever. Plus I'm in the city, so it's like, I'm sitting here exploring every single thing, bro. I'm telling you. It's cool for about a year. But then after that, God will start to speak with you. Nature itself will start to compel you to say, you know what, maybe you should be asking some deeper questions here. Because what you're doing ain't it. And once you find that nature, once you understand what that God force feels like in you, working through you, what it actually feels like to love on command, what it actually feels like to be a part and be lived by this totality, to be moving with the universe as the universe moves. Oh, you can't learn this in no college. And it's not something that you can purchase. So if you are operating from this understanding and the entire world is operating from a whole different thing, they over here talking about some, get your money, get your paper, get all that stuff. That's cool. It's cool. But none of that is the same as being lived by love. So for me, everything I do is for love alone to the greatest capacity that I can. To the greatest capacity that I can. Because if I allow the world to dictate what I do, I'd never create what no one has ever created before. If I allowed the world to dictate what I do, then I would never create what has never existed before. I would be too hung up either on blame or on bargaining, trying to figure out, well, how can I make sure I can do this thing later, but I'll do it in a 6-month interval, assuming that I've got X, Y, and Z in place. Assuming that there's enough fans, assuming then we can give them this, then we can start a Kickstarter, and then we can go hit them with the. If I gotta wait for somebody else to be interested in what I'm doing in order for me to feel comfortable enough to follow God, I don't understand that kind of faith. I don't get that kind of faith. That's not faith. Or rather, it is faith. It's a faith that is invested in survival. It's a faith that is invested in looking to ameliorate fear, right? To handle and pacify fear, to deal with uncertainty. Mm-mm. Because the thing is this, the moment you make one fearful choice, even if it seems logical, it becomes so much easier to make another fearful choice after that. It's so much easier to make another fearful choice after that. But the whole time, it looks just like logic. It looks like it should make sense. It looks completely rational. One of my favorite quotes from graduate school, I am forgetting who said it. It might be like some like Robespierre or some joint, you know what I'm saying? I don't want to miscredit, but it, let me get my phone back on. My joint. All right. I don't know what's going on with this. I'm gonna go ahead and we will be checking that out for next show. All right. So we back, yes? Yes, yes. All right. We back, yes? Somebody say, okay, we hear you. Okay, cool, cool, cool. Twin is saying, if this was a simulation, we would be here to remember and link back to our original source, story, self. Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay, put a yes in the chat if you can actually see me. I think there's a slight delay. You said MSG must be powerful. Something doesn't want us to continue, huh? Hilarious. MSG, what's that mean? I hear Madison Square Garden, but I know that's not what you mean. It's the energy talking some proof here tonight. It's the energy. Okay. Yes, we see you. We're back. All right, so we back. We back. I can already. There's like a slight delay. You know what I'm saying, between what I'm actually saying and what y'all actually get to hear when it's live. You feel me? So, um, but hey, these are the technical difficulties, champ. All right, so but the point is this: is that just getting back to that point that fear may serve many masters, and the truth is not always one. See, we got to understand that fear may serve many masters, but the truth is not always one. Logic can be that. Let me say that quote again. It's not fear. It's logic may serve many masters, and the truth is not always one. The point is that we can be thinking logically, but not understand that there is a undercurrent of fear guiding the logic itself, right? So we end up misdirecting our logic. We can easily come to a sequential order of events. We can create an order of operations out of anything. The question really is should we? Is what we are saying and doing in alignment with what we deeply know to be true, or are we just trying to do things in order to get things? You feel me? Is what we are doing in alignment with what we know is true, in alignment with love, in alignment with purpose? Or are we just out here doing things in order to get things, hoping that one day we can retire and when we're 60 or 70 or 80, and maybe that'll be the time that we can actually get busy on some God purpose? Oh, he says MSG is message. All right, right, like text message. Okay, 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 okay. Okay. Right on, right on. The message. Yeah, 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 right on. Ah. Okay, cool, cool, cool. I'm on alert though if that happens again. Well, that's never happened before. I don't know how many times we've been on live together, and I've never seen nothing like that. So I'm like, okay, um, it's politics as usual. Okay, so anyway, the point is this: we've been able to uncover tonight this concept of how to move beyond fear forever, and we're not done because now that we've been able to understand the principle, the pattern, the path, and I've shown you how it operates in my own story, that at the end of the day, the art that I'm put here to do, I saw that in love, I could no longer be manipulated by fear. If I can just keep my eyes on the totality, remember, love is oneness, love is the totality. If I can just, but it's the totality felt, which means it anchors itself in our body. That's important. So if I can just keep my perception on that love, it will guide me. Even if you get the number one guru in the world saying you need to do this other thing, okay, cool. There will be a time for that, but it will be on love's timing to do these other sorts of suggestions. But for right now, I'd rather work in obscurity lovingly than just go and try and do what everybody else is doing because everybody else is doing it. because that helps the consumer understand what you're doing more. If I wait to do that, the art itself, the creation itself, will never be birthed. What I'm suggesting for you is that the same is true for you. That the very courage to surrender to the totality transcends fear. And allows you to create what otherwise would never have been created. Even if the creation is just a conversation. That's the beautiful part here. I saw that in love, I could no longer be controlled by mental manipulators, even when the mental manipulator was myself. Even when I was the one who was blaming somebody else and then starting to get into the bargaining. I saw that in love, all mental manipulators, external and domestic, go away. Why? Because the tiny self that is preyed upon, that is mentally manipulated, gets reabsorbed, dissolved back into the unity of experience, realigned with true reality, realigned with God. Put a yes in the chat if you're feeling that. Just let me know that you're feeling that. Just let me know that you're feeling that. Let me know. And as a matter of fact, if someone you love needs this message right now, share this video with them. Share this video with them right now, because that is how we spread this message of healing and make sure that our evenings together benefit us and benefit the people we care about most. Dude, I'm wishing I was had somebody to break this down for a family. You know what I'm saying? Like you're in Tahiti, and after this conversation, I still got the whole day. I'm sitting here walking around tight. I was sitting in the car with Felicity, and I was like, man, H, I was like, man, he don't even know it all. He don't even know. And it's like, okay, take a breath. You're getting too caught up in the tiny me. Take a breath. Because at the end of the day, the only thing that's going to matter is what's created when you surrendered completely to God. Because by the way, what else is there? What else is there? These are the points. Okay. Okay, my timeline is I get your messages like way late, you know what I'm saying? So I'm just not seeing twins responding to the Madison Square joint. All right, maybe I could pull this up. Okay. Okay, cool. Yes. Okay, William Howard is in the room. William Howard is in the room. Welcome in, William. Okay, he's saying, so William is saying, is God in you or outside of you? William, what we're talking about is the totality of experience. So we're talking about there really being no difference between inside and outside. That the very definition of inside and outside is contingent upon the thought or a thought that splits reality into two. That says this is a tiny me over here, and that is the big phenomenal world. This is the universe over here, and this is this tiny little me. So when we say God is within, That's true, but it's as true as saying God is without. When we split reality into two, in order to have a conversation like this, we can never say the truth because the truth is that oneness. The truth is that God is, and we simply happen to be that. We simply happen to be that. So I'm fine if you say, okay, well, God is within. Absolutely. Absolutely. But we just want to make sure we're keeping track of the nature of infinity itself. That if something is infinite, there is no place for it to not be. You can't have infinity. You can't say God is infinite. Oh, it's everywhere but inside of me. That doesn't make any sense. It's either infinite, which means it is making up every fabric of every cell, of every molecule that constitutes this tiny you, or it is not infinite. And because our conversation on God is always a conversation on infinity, then we can see that from this perspective of infinity, there is no inside or outside. It's just infinity, which means that when we collapse that distinction between outside and inside, the question not only goes away, but so too do all of the fears and all of the predilections that are based on that separate self. All of that goes away. And what you are left with is a unity of experience. You are left with infinity. And you could just say that God is. If you don't like the word God, you would just say that nature is, that love is. However you want to express this, obviously the people of, ancient Kemet, Nubio-Kemetic culture, these people didn't have a word for God, right? God is a sort of a Germanic concept. They didn't have a word for God like that. You know what I'm saying? They had a word for nature. They called it neter, Neter. And nature was the same thing as what we call God. That which organizes, orchestrates, births all things and returns all things to itself. That is God, nature, reality. It must exist both inside and out. Of course, only if we make a concession, only if we allow for the thought to exist that there is an inside and out in the first place. William, I believe that's answering your question. Okay, so William's saying respect. Roger that. Roger that. Okay, let's continue on, folks. Let's continue on. All right. So I got something I want to show y'all. Speaking of this, we're talking about infinity. Speaking just of William's question, we're talking about infinity. Coming back to that totality of experience, the path forward, there is one thing I want to show you. It's a video. Let me see if I can get to it. Oh, okay. So I'm gonna go ahead and click up on this joint and see if I can't get to the things I want to show you. Here we go.
If I say I'm doing something, like for instance, for like coming to this retreat, I know that the I am is there. And the I am, from this point of view, is the one that is doing everything.
Yes.
However, there is also a doing things, like planning, for instance. What I see there is a mind doing something like looking for ways to go towards its source, is that true, or what is going on here is a sort of Mary having a lucid dream?
Okay, so take infinite consciousness, and infinite consciousness localizes itself or contracts into each of our finite minds. So each of our finite minds would be if infinite consciousness is represented as the vast physical space of the universe, each of our finite minds would be like a room in a building. So that this room seems to be a separate space, and the dining room is a separate space, and your bedroom at home is a separate space, and my kitchen at home is a separate space. There seem to be all these separate spaces within the vast physical space of the universe. So the vast physical space of the universe would represent consciousness, or the infinite, and each of our finite minds is like a separate space. Now, when consciousness is limited or seems to be limited within the four walls of a body, when it seems to be imprisoned in a body, like this space seems to be imprisoned in the four walls of this room, a tension is set up in it. Why? Because the space is by nature infinite.
For instance,
Okay, so I just wanted y'all to see that. Like Rupert Spira, love that dude. Rupert Spira is, one of these, he's a non-duality guy. But what you just saw him doing was talking about infinite consciousness, that each of our minds is kind of like a separate room. Like right now, you're in a room, your physical body's in a room, my physical body's in a room, right? The space inside of that room, just what is contained within your four walls, is different than what is contained within my four walls. But the space that constitutes the same space that is in the room with you now is the same space that runs through the entire cosmos. It's the same space that if we just defined existence by the space itself, it's everywhere. It's immediately infinite. That the space in the room that you're in is not, though it looks like it's just, small and just contained within these walls, it's actually connected to the infinite space that is the cosmos. Likewise, consciousness, the space that's in your mind, your personal thoughts, the things that you think that only you can see, the things that your past, your memories, your plans, your ideas, the things that you believe are just yours, actually belong to a greater consciousness that flows through not just you, me, every person who's ever existed, every person who will ever exist. So you got to tell me, with this, from the perspective of this infinite consciousness, how is it that that infinity can be all stressed out and tightened up by some random problem of a tiny self, of an illusory person? If you know that deep down you are that infinite nature that was here before your body was birthed and will be here after your body has passed on, after it has returned into dust, like, from its perspective, what do your problems look like from its perspective? Do you believe infinite consciousness is going to be concerned with your bills in 1,000 years? Are they going to be concerned with someone who cut you off in traffic in 1,000 years? You know what I'm saying? Like, what is, it's ridiculous to even say. And yet the things that don't matter take up so much space in our minds. That's the piece that I wanted to share with you today, is that, oh, wait, what we're seeing here is something that is more profound. It becomes impossible to fear. It becomes impossible to concern yourself, be so anxious over uncertainty and what the future may bring. It becomes impossible to confuse uncertainty with danger. That's why coming back to that perception of totality is so important. And the reason why it's one of the things we're going to need to do tonight when we take our callers. By the way, if you ever want to be on the Breakthrough Live, what we do is we straight up go through live. We'll take any sort of issue, anything that you're working on, anything that is been emotionally heavy for you, and we handle that. We make sure that you get your breakthrough live right here on the show, because when you do, you're actually serving other people in real time. Your ability to be vulnerable and to work through the techniques that I have for you in Transcendent Psychology, the techniques are called Conscious Transformation Technologies, or KITS for short. Your capacity to demonstrate what this procedure looks like for people who are at home anywhere in the world is remarkable leadership. And so every single person who comes on the Breakthrough Live, I'm always big up in, because if we can show people and model for people what it looks like to heal out loud, that invites people to participate in that healing. And it's one of the greatest gifts we can give to the world. And so, one thing I want to do for people who've never actually been and came through before, I want to speak to you about the Breakthrough Challenge. Y'all know I had the show called Countdown to Breakthrough. Okay, but it's not just a show, it's actually a training mechanism. It's actually an educational tool. It's actually a breakthrough tool. What am I saying? Well, here we go. If you're someone that you've done the affirmations, the therapy, the shadow work, but you still find yourself reacting the same way when life gets hard. You know you should be happy. You've grown a lot, but something still triggers you. You keep falling back into old emotions, old patterns, like something deep in you still runs the show. You want real freedom, not just moments of calm. Everyone online talks about letting go or raising your vibration, but no one gives you a clear step-by-step way to actually break these cycles that keep replaying in your life. You're tired of chasing healing. You want a breakthrough. If that sounds like you, it's because you haven't learned how to transform memory, emotion, and identity at the root level, leaving you controlled by your past instead of creating from peace. That's why I made the Breakthrough Challenge. The Breakthrough Challenge is your 6-week path to emotional freedom. Once a week, you watch one episode of Countdown to Breakthrough, complete one mini workbook experience, and you get one transformation. On day 1, you'll break generational cycles. By week 6, you'll become unbreakable. Hit the link in the description to take the Breakthrough Challenge now and become a breakthrough believer for free. Watch, reflect, transform now. Can't recommend the Breakthrough Challenge enough. Y'all hear that? Yep, hold on. I think, let me see if I can, see if y'all can hear that. Hold on. It's like, I'm hearing something, but it's kind of faint. Hold on, let me see if oh shoot. You know, it's like a ghost. It's like a Brian Lane. Shout out to Brian Lane, just came through. He said it's like a ghost. Yeah, something crazy. Is it a ghost or is it like Breakthrough Turtle? Welcome in, B. Breakthrough Turtle is on the scene. Okay, Breakthrough Turtle has a message for us. He comes through every single week for us, and you've been doing your thing as of late. You know what I'm saying? Like you've been really doing your thing. So I can't wait to see what you got for us this time. Which Oh, I don't think she's gonna go for that, bro. He's saying, so you saying you got a crush on Sublime? Look, I think Sublime might be married, bro. Hey, what happened with you in April? Hey, man, just the breakthrough. Look, oh, okay, so we come through. We got okay. Worry about Sublime later. All right, all right. So breakthrough turtle, he got something for us. Hold on. Okay. Mm. Okay, so here you go. He says, "You are so accustomed to think of yourselves as bodies having consciousness that you just cannot imagine consciousness as having bodies." He says, "You are so accustomed to think of yourselves as bodies having consciousness that you just cannot imagine consciousness as having bodies." This is a quote from Sri Nisargadatta Maharaj. Breakthrough Turtle be coming through. He says, "You are so accustomed to think of yourselves as bodies having consciousness that you just cannot imagine consciousness as having bodies." Sri Nisargadatta Maharaj. Beautiful, beautiful quote. Beautiful quote. Yeah, it's like if we could step back and see that our bodies exist within this infinite abyss, this substance, this deep fabric, we would be much more willing to surrender our bodies to the dictates of this more intelligent, more supreme force. It is brilliant. Breakthrough Turtle be coming through. Good luck, B. Appreciate you. You know, everything else we'll make sure we. Okay, so you say, "Oh snap, Breakthrough Turtle." Brian Lane saying it's like a ghost reliving the past when you just want to let go and move on. Absolutely. So I hear him. Snap is Breakthrough Turtle. Twin saying, Brian saying, "I love turtles. I have turtles." Oh, shout out to Brian Lane. I love the turtles. I have the turtles. He put his turtles in the chat. Hey, put your turtles in the chat if you respect what Breakthrough Turtle talking about, especially you, Sublime. You know what I'm saying? I don't know what he got going on, but Brian Lane saying we're all souls. We're all souls. Absolutely. We're all souls just living in temporary bodies like costumes. Interesting. Interesting. Yes. And somehow all connected. Somehow there's a unity of experience, and that if we could remember it, we could remember it, and we could transform our very way of thinking. All right. I know we went dark. We coming back though. Not sure what the technical difficulties are on tonight. I've never seen it do this before, but it's all right. 'Cause I'm still seeing the turtles in the chat. I have Teddy the turtle next to me now. Okay, so Brian got Teddy the turtle. Okay. Is Teddy the turtle real? Is Teddy the turtle real? Okay, let me know we all back. Let me know when y'all get it all back. He said twin saying it's the message. It's that powerful. Absolutely. Can y'all see me? Just put a yes in the chat. I see you. I'm definitely about to have to figure something out. It's the message. Yes, he's a box turtle. Oh, she got a box turtle. Okay, so you can't feed them too much. Otherwise, they can outgrow their shells. At least that used to be the common saying. Can y'all see me? Can y'all see me? Yes, we can. Okay. So, all right. So, cool. All right, so y'all for real with the turtles. All right, excellent. So, what we're about to do, folks, let's go ahead and open up our phone line. If anytime you want to be on the Breakthrough Live, just throw the ones in the chat. 11111. I'm going to select from a person who's on live with me that evening, and I'm going to basically give you 3 questions, and we're going to come on live and basically handle everything that we need to handle for the evening. So for right now, let's go ahead and get to our caller. Let's go ahead and get to our caller. Breakthrough Live, and let people know what your name is and where you're from before we jump right in.
My name is Jovan Julian Hayes, and I'm from Columbus, Ohio.
Jovan's from for real?
Yes.
Man, are you for real from Columbus?
Yeah, that's where I was born.
Yo, that's crazy. Okay, so did you know I'm from Columbus? Did you know?
I do now.
Yeah. Jovan took the master classes back in the day, probably 2 or 3 years ago. And so what you're seeing, folks, and what you're about to see and experience is somebody who has a beautiful soul and somebody who is on their journey. But like anytime, we are living our truth and we're living our experience and we're moving in the direction that God has for us, we hit some obstacles every once in a while, right? And so the thing is that, Jovan, when you took the sort of intake form to say, okay, do you want to be on the Breakthrough Live? I saw that whereas you had the box to say, what's bothering you right now? Is it the generational trauma? Is it overthinking? Is it self-worth? Is it all these different things? Yours was, I don't even know yet. And so sometimes it be like that. And so what I want to do is I prepared three questions that I have for you. And as we jump into this, I just want you to go back sort of into the inventory of your mind and start thinking about the last week, the last month, the last year. And my first question is, what's the one recurring thought or feeling that's been hardest for you to let go of lately?
I guess it's the thought that says you have reason to be worrying because you're not independent yet from the support of your parents.
Mm.
And this is an issue.
Okay, very good. So you're saying that independence, that support, that there is a reason to be worried that you're not where you need to be yet in life. My question is this: when that thought happens, when that feeling happens, when that sense happens, what's the story that you're telling yourself in that moment?
I guess included in the story is strategies on how to become independent and be more self-sustaining and counting on myself. And
what I mean is, what is the story that you're telling yourself as to why that is the case? In other words, if someone were to ask you, well, why aren't you independent yet? Right? There's a certain story, a certain narrative that you have to rely on, that you is your current explanation for why that is the case. Right? I want to hear your current explanation for why that is the case. There's no judgment on the explanation, but I do want to understand, what is the story that Jovan is telling himself when he's lying asleep at night in the bed that his parents have provided? What's the story that he is telling himself about why he is in this unique situation?
Shoot, I never thought about it consciously, so I'm trying to dig.
Take your time. We're on the Breakthrough Live. Take your time. This is what this is for.
I think part of it has to do with blaming my parents or feeling entitled towards my parents, that this position I'm in is something that they needed to, something that they should have done for me. And I think it's also blaming them for me not being independent yet too. But I feel like I blame them because I'm aware that they made a spoiled child in a certain way, and that they are the reason that it's hard for me to be independent, because they just raised me with um, everything is provided for you, and didn't I don't know. I guess I feel like that's kind of the truth, and part of me realizes that it's nonsensical and it kind of crumbles because it's not really true. Because I'm still grateful. I'm grateful for my parents, and I believe that they poured into me love the best way that they knew and know how to. But I guess it's just kind of a feeling of being stuck in not being independent yet, and feeling like my parents are the source of how I've grown to this point, and also kind of play a part in what's holding me back.
This is brilliant. This is brilliant. And you see how Jovan recognized what was happening, exactly where we were going. That you're saying that I'm hearing you say that your parents provided a lifestyle for you that created a culture of comfort inside of the home for you, and wherein you were knowing that life requires that a person, individual man, develops his inner resources so that he can execute on his own vision in the world. You're saying that the culture of comfort that you came from hindered that progress. And I'm hearing you catch yourself saying, and you're blaming your parents for it. The story is that they should have prepared me better for the world, should have prepared me better to stand on my own too. And because they didn't, they are to blame. Right. That's the subtle belief that you just caught yourself. I didn't have to say it. I'm just repeating what I just heard you say. Okay. And so and then you say, well, it's almost nonsensical. It's almost, you know what I'm saying? We're not going to even get into the judgment of it. I'm not interested in judging whether or not it makes sense. It's a belief that's there. I'd rather just deal with the belief. And to that end, if you could believe one new truth about yourself today, just by the end of our conversation, let's just say, if you could believe one new truth about yourself, what would it be?
If I could believe one new truth about myself, what would it be? You're free from all suffering.
Okay. So well, we can certainly get there, but I wonder if that's the sort of thing that, because being free, I mean, that's kind of the ultimate, right? You know what I'm saying? Once you understand that, it's like, okay. But what I'm saying is that in contrast to this belief that you were having about your parents providing this culture of comfort, that one belief that you could switch, that one belief that you could add on, that one belief that could transform everything, I'm wondering what that would be. And if you're telling me that it's to end all suffering, then that's the way we'll go. But if you're telling me that, I'm hearing you say that you're really looking for an identity shift. You want to know that you're more than the story you've been telling yourself. That's what I'm hearing. And the good news is that that's definitely true. The point is that we want you to make sure that you're feeling that is actually the resonant frequency that you're carrying. It's one thing to understand the truth intellectually. It's another thing to have it living inside of you, and for other people to feel it without you ever having to say anything. Right. So I want to give you one more shot. You can say the exact same thing that you just told me, or you can say whatever comes to your mind when I ask you the same question again. If you could believe one new truth about yourself, what would it be?
I'm capable and strong enough to support myself now and through my life.
Okay. So I just heard you say that that one belief, that one powerful belief would be that you are capable of supporting yourself now and forevermore. But would you believe me if I said that the only way that I know to do that, the only way that I know to do that is actually to rely on what we could call God. We use the term God. We were just talking about the God within. We're talking about the fabricator of all existence. We're talking about we're talking about consciousness. We're talking about the supreme ruler over all phenomenal reality. God is just a shorthand term that most people understand. But to rely on God is the only way that I can reliably and comfortably send Jovan off feeling like he's got a base of support. Because if you try and rely on just what you understand today intellectually, there may be more learnings that you need to have. That may be a fickle support. If you just try and rely on what your parents have shown you, that may be fickle support. The only way that I can comfortably walk away from this meeting feeling like I did what I needed to do is to have us both return to that root of existence. Because what if I told you that there is an energy source, a frequency that you can tap into that guides your steps, that understands who you are to be at your full potential, understands the purpose that you are to have at your full potential, understands the blessings that you are to have at your full potential, and has already ordered your steps in that direction? Would you believe that such a energy source, such a God frequency exists?
Yes.
So I'm hearing you say yes. And so now the point is to actually abide. Let's go touch and tap into, experience that God frequency, because I think a lot of times in life, we're trying to, especially if you listen to all the online gurus, we're always trying to get the strategy, get the play, get the plan, get the playbook, get the money. And recently, Jovan, I can't hold you. I've been thinking a lot about this. I'm like, the researchers tell us that our species has been on this planet for 200,000 years. That's what you can go into any university on the planet and say and not look foolish. The truth may be far older than that, but that's what you can reasonably expect. How old do you think money is?
I don't know.
Right. It's like maybe 7,000, maybe 8,000 years old, 9,000, 10, something like this. So, which would mean that in our efforts to try and secure the monies, in our efforts to try and secure the creature comforts of modern life, I think that we forget who we have been before. I think we forget that the abundance of the planet, the resources of the planet, people were still building families, people were still building societies, people were still building, they were still doing all these wonderful things. And I think that we allow the convenience and the comfort of capital to nudge us away from true alignment with the divine frequency. And then oftentimes we can judge ourselves for not having the capital. You see what I'm saying? We can judge ourselves for not being where we think we should be. And the whole time God is saying, the place where you should be is with me. You see what I'm saying? The whole time God is saying, the place you should be is with me. I was about to handle all that other stuff. I was just about to get to it. But if we do not take the time to tune back in, then we can spend our life chasing after the creature comforts. And even if we do end up being independent, it's still not the sort of independence that comes with any lasting security, because the business that you start could fail. New government regulations could take it away. You know what I'm saying? Like that, like all of the things that we think are going to be the saving thing, the saving grace, that stuff can go away. And so I cannot, in good faith, in good conscience, walk away from this conversation without us turning back to the one frequency that actually has already ordered your steps. And though we may talk about it as if it is an external frequency, actually it is an internal frequency. Are you following what I'm saying? I don't want to just be somebody. And I'm saying, are you following what I'm saying? Does it make sense to you that this universe that we have, that we exist in, that it's filled with intelligence, and that this God presence is everywhere? Do you feel that it's better to have $1 million right now, which means you would be able to move out of your house? I gotta ask, do you feel it's better? I gotta ask, Joe Von, because you about to go straight to it. Do you feel it's better to get $1 million right now? And I know the young ladies at home are like, oh, he could be a model. You know what I'm saying? Do you feel like it's better to get $1 million modeling contract or whatever it is you're into? Or do you feel like it's better to abide in this higher frequency that knows the answers already to the questions you haven't even begun to ask yet?
I'm aware that there is a God, like you said, it's shorthand. What we really mean, we can't even really describe. But I surrender to that. What we mean when we say God. So yeah, if there was two choices, I would choose to surrender more into God or love, whatever you want to call it. Because I feel like, I love that you said those two words, lasting security. You could get this new job and then new government regulations could change the security you thought was lasting with this job or whatever it may be. But I love that. I love that. There is lasting security in love and in God, I feel. So, yeah, I'm following.
Yes, that's the part that I must have. I was looking for that confirmation, that spiritual confirmation, because that through you tells me that, oh, okay, he's ready. Right. We don't have to start at a lower level and and I don't have to sit here and try and convince you. You've seen enough. You've seen enough of regulations coming in, of layoffs happening. You've seen people who people thought were going to be around forever pass away. You see, you know what I'm saying? Like, you've seen it all. And so now it's like, okay, well, let's get back to that which never fades. And so I got a game, actually. You know what? I think so check it out. I run up on people on the streets, and I try and put them in touch with love, in touch with God. And so sometimes I'll come up with the games. I'll come up with the games, and I'll write the games down, right? And so this one hasn't been filmed yet, but I think it would be kind of fun to have this moment with you. And so the point is that what we're looking to do is to create that confirmation. I just want to be able to show you really quickly what I mean when I say God, and to come to that experiential feeling of this. And we got time. So here we go. Right now, if you can just hold up your hand, hold it open. Let me see that thing. Excellent. And if you're looking at your hand, can you see all the spaces in between your fingers? Can you see all of this space around your fingers? You could even put your finger through the space. All I need is, there's no trick questions. Just a simple yes or no. Can you see all the space around your fingers right now?
Yes.
Excellent. Is there any way to separate your fingers from the space? Is there any way to separate your fingers from the space around your fingers?
I don't think so.
You say yes or no?
I don't think that there's any way to separate any of my fingers from the space in between.
Correct. Which means that even if you were to close your fingers, I know people thinking, oh, well, I can close my fingers, now the space is gone. Even if you close your fingers together, could you separate your hands and your arms from the space that defines them?
I don't think so.
So what about your body? Could you separate the body from the space that defines it?
What do you mean by the space that defines it?
Like, can you literally pop your body out of space? Can you separate the body from space itself?
If I can, I'm not aware of how to do that.
So let's just go with no. You see what I'm saying? Because it seems that you can't separate your hands. If you're not aware of it, that means you're not aware of any way to separate your hands, your fingers, your body from space, which means you can't make your body pop out of space. The space and the body must go together. And whatever you can't separate yourself from must be a part of you, right?
Yeah. Whatever I can't separate myself from is part of me.
And the space that is connected, of course, to your fingers, to your hands, to your body, the space of this room, the room that you're in, is also connected to the space outside of your room. And the space outside of your room is connected with the space of this planet.
Yeah.
Space outside of this room that's connected with the space of this planet is connected with the space of this universe.
Yeah.
And if you're telling me that you can't separate yourself from this space, then that would mean that you cannot separate yourself from this universe. So wouldn't that mean that you and all the space in this universe are one?
Yeah.
So why did you ever believe that you were just a person who was dependent on your parents for support?
How do I answer this question?
It's rhetorical. You see, the real question that I have is, what would it be like to live life as more than just this person that you were calling yourself a few moments ago? The question again is, what would it be like to live life as more than the person that you thought you were a few moments ago? And instead to live life as this connected field, this expansive field, whose intelligence is connected with the intelligence of all.
Living life as an intelligence that's connected to all things, as opposed to just a person. It feels so much more expansive and at the same time more lightweight. And it feels intuitive and true. I guess I don't know. How do I shift into that experience? Because I mean, it feels inspiring and attractive, but I don't really know how to.
Javon, hold up your hand. Look at the space. just take a moment to recognize that there can be no separation. See, you cannot move closer to the space. You cannot pull yourself apart from the space. In other words, you cannot disgrace God. You cannot help God. You cannot hurt God. No matter what you do, you can only abide in God. And so anytime that you're asking yourself, how do I, those are intellectual questions. The intellect is fine and it has its place, but your intellect is not superior to you. So one of the biggest things that you can do to feel connected, because you're saying it feels inspiring, that inspiration is God. You're saying it feels intuitive, that intuition is God. You're saying that you want to always feel connected to it. I'm showing you, how could you not be? And the skill of it is just to put your attention on the space itself. And when you do this, you notice that space is not an object. So to put your attention on space, which is infinite, is to put your attention on the infinite, which is to put your attention on God itself. Because only God is infinite.
Right.
Because if you cannot separate yourself from the space in this room, that means you cannot separate yourself from the space in this universe. So why would you or anyone else, why would any of us ever believe that we were just people who had all these issues that come and go?
Mm.
And so as you contemplate that space, you don't have to try and get more closer to it. It's already here. The important thing is to drop the belief that your feelings of inadequacy, your feelings of not being where you need to be in life, drop the belief in the person who could hold on to that belief. You dig what I'm saying? You're dropping the foundational belief that you were a person exclusively. Sure, Jovan is a part of the intelligence, has a purpose, but let's not forget what the true intelligence is. Let's not forget that interconnected, always so, cannot be, doesn't matter how many machine guns, how many nukes you put up in this piece, like the space is going to be fine. You dig what I'm saying? The space is going to be fine. And since you cannot separate yourself from that, it's impossible to separate yourself from that. Thermodynamically, you know that even when the body fades, it doesn't actually fade. It just gets transformed into different sorts of energy that continues to exist alongside the space. You dig what I'm saying? It continues to be defined with the space. Some people say that space is not even, and this is the part that I really want you to get, the truly great understand that space is just the name for God when it's objectified by the senses. That space is just the name of God. It's what God looks like when seen through the finite eyes of a human being. And so to understand this, and anytime you need a reminder, you just hold up that hand, recognizing that the space in the room that I'm in is connected with the space in the room that you're in, and that you cannot separate yourself from it. No matter what you do, and therefore it is you. What does that tell me right now from the position, from the perspective of your true self, which is this expanded self, how does the expanded self think about Javon's temporary situation of being in his parents' home?
That you can still be grateful for the present moment and that all things change for the better.
Mm. But I need you to feel that. Is that coming from the true place? Is that coming from the true place? The true place where you're saying, oh, wow, if I am the space that never changes, then everything that does change happens in me, happens before me. Which would mean that the situation, as you just said, changes, but the one who is eternal simply remains. So what I'm asking is, when you think about the one who remains, looking back on the present situation of the one that is called Jovan, take another moment. And you can either repeat what you just said or say something different. But when I ask you, looking from the perspective of the ultimate one, of this expanded one, whose presence is confirmed anytime you look anywhere, between your fingers or not, what does that one have to say about Jovan's independence?
About Jovan's independence, it'll come when it's meant to, like it did for his parents.
Oh my God. That almost brought me. Oh my God. Yes, yes, yes. Because it understands that it was once there for his parents too. That this intelligence was once there for its parents too. Like that it birthed them. You dig what I'm saying? It birthed them. It gave rise to them.
To them.
And so when you say it will come just as it did for his parents, that ain't no academic talk. That's not something that ain't in my book. I didn't write that. That's coming from God. And so when you can simply rely on that frequency, earlier you were talking about that sense of feeling inspired, that sense of inspiration, that sense of intuition, that sense of empowerment. That's the frequency. That's the frequency. The beautiful part is that's the frequency that lasts. Regardless of whatever happens, you may own several businesses. You may get all the jobs. You may do whatever the thing. And guess what? Your success in those endeavors is going to be dependent upon your reliance on God. To understand and to stay connected with that, just allow your awareness in this moment to expand to the space around your body. Truly with me, close your eyes and just allow your awareness to extend to your skin, to the surface of your skin. And then when you're ready, allow your awareness to extend to the space around your skin, the space around your body. And already you see that the awareness and the space, they go together. That even when the body disappears, the awareness and the space, we could even call it the space of awareness, it remains. And if you decided, you could allow this awareness to extend all the way to Jupiter, all the way outside of the Milky Way, all the way to infinity. But there is no need, because simply having the awareness extend just off the surface of your skin into the space around your body is enough to remember the divine infinite. Simply allowing your awareness to extend into the space around your body connects you with the truth of all things. Your answers will come from the truth of all things, because all true answers come from the truth of all things. You may open your eyes. Look at him. You start to see the world differently. You start to see that the objects, they shine. And isn't it fascinating that the matter that they say exists in the walls you're looking at? That the atoms themselves are 99.9% space. Ooh, isn't that interesting? And that's only because they haven't figured out that it's 100% space. I want to know what you're feeling right now. What is the feeling when you go inside your body?
Safety. I feel like held and like lucid. And I love this anchor. This is like an anchor because it's like the evidence is in my eyes that there's no separation. That the space in between the fingers is like the same thing as the fingers. Like, and the same thing as me, like the space in the room and outside of the room are all like different faces of this interconnectedness. So that's what I'm feeling. Kind of like zero in on the feeling of it instead of it just being an intellectual understanding. It's also now more so a feeling and not a thought, a feeling like zen. More, but something I can't describe.
Yes. Feeling is the truth. There's an old jingle that used to be sung in the church. And it was like, he's got the whole world in his hand. He's got the whole world in his hand, right? That idea that the whole world, all of the universe is inside of God. And today, with our exercise, you're seeing that as you even stare around the room, you're starting to sense that that entire universe, that entire experience is also within you.
Yeah.
And so,
yeah,
that's our call. That's our call today. You know what I'm saying? Like that's basically everything. Because I know that when you are relying on this, you call it a feeling, but I also call it frequency. You said, I can feel this feeling. I'm saying I call that frequency. That frequency is what orders your steps. that as you move through today, there will be certain choices that will mirror that frequency for you, that will mirror that feeling for you. And you'll say, oh, wow, that choice is so light. I think I'll go with that one. And then the next choice will come and you'll say, oh, wow, that's so light. I resonate. I think I'll go with that one. And before you know it, you string enough of those choices up. And now not only are you living your highest purpose, but also you become a living example of the truth on earth for everybody else. And so I just want to say thank you for jumping on the call. You know what I'm saying? I really appreciate you.
I appreciate this presence that we're both in.
Yeah. What a way to say that. This presence that we're both in. Yeah.
And I think that it's that transition. That I love that you said that, because you said you can understand intellectually, which is valid, but it's not the same as embodying a feeling of that interconnectedness. Because it's like the heart and the mind are like not this. They're the same, and they're also unique individuals with their own intent. And I feel like this helped me sink and surrender more into what my heart feels, and it brings me into the silence, and it feels good. And that word feel, it feels. It's not. I think that everything is one. Yes. It's like, yeah, mind, you're right, and I feel that that's true. Like, how could I not be connected to these trees I see outside moving in the Florida wind? How is it? How could it not be that Jovan, Julian Hayes, and Dr. Shawn Smith are really one and the same, and brothers, and each other? Just, I don't know. It makes sense.
Yeah. Yes. And to carry that, to have that frequency, and it makes you can fit it. It's not that it just makes intellectual sense. It makes it, you feel it. You can feel it. And that's a breakthrough. That's the moment. When I say breakthrough, I'm just talking about love. I'm just talking about being able to surrender to love, to that moment where you say, oh my gosh, there's all of this silence. Love is more than an emotion. It's also an emotion, but it's more than that. It's this understanding of oneness, this understanding of this God force. That's why when we say, well, love heals all things, it's really just another way of saying God heals all things. And once you understand the God frequency, why would you make any lesser choice? Right? This feeling that you're having is, all of your decisions get made in alignment with this feeling. From your relationships, the person you may be dating, the person you may be wanting to marry, the person who is going to be a business partner, the person who is going to be working with you, any sort of partnerships, every single thing, how you treat your cousins, right? Every single thing happens in alignment with this expansive feeling. That's the only way to know that you're operating from God. If we try and use our intellects can be conditioned. Our intellects are conditioned by what somebody else is talking about. Only one thing allows us access to a higher dimension and allows us to cultivate our behaviors in alignment with that higher dimension. And so for you to understand that, that's the biggest gift I could ever give you. And it's not even one that I give you. It's the biggest gift that you can ever discover for yourself. All the things that had to happen in order for this conversation to happen. Think about all the levels of history that had to happen in order for this simple insight to bloom forth inside and step forth and merge out. It gets deep, bro. It gets deep. It gets deep. Once again, man, I just thank you so much for being on the Breakthrough Live. And I know that somebody has gotten served through you. And this is only the beginning. right? Because I can't wait to see how you make your choices in alignment with this feeling and to continue to come back and know you said that you felt held, as in the same force that held your parents holds you, and that force is you. Ooh.
Yeah.
Ooh. Much love to you, Javon. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you.
Woo! Okay, folks, Jovan, thank you so much for coming on, dude. Like you can sense that he understood, that he was willing to do the work to complete the assignment. And when he did, that sense of freedom that he experienced, someone watching gets to participate in that. They get to be invited into that. That's why, Jovan, just for you coming up, and every single person who ever comes on the Breakthrough Live, this show don't work without you. There's your ability to be vulnerable and honest transmits transformation to people you'll never see, to people you'll never in physical form meet, but nevertheless you made this tremendous impact. And that to me is magic, or you might just call it purpose. And so, folks, if you are watching this alone, I want you to bring someone with you next week, because these are the moments that can change someone's life. These are the moments that can open up someone to more. And your example, when you are abiding in that frequency, holding that frequency, your example, it ripples no matter what you say, no matter what you do. In complete silence, you will transform yourself and others. That's a breakthrough. And so that's the part that I'm just so in love with. I can't believe. So I hear Twin putting the ones up. Okay, excellent, excellent, excellent. Definitely be here next week, because obviously we just do this every week. You feel me? So the point here is this: I want to now get into our practice for the night. Okay, we're gonna wrap this show up tonight with our simple, small practice. If the camera goes out again, don't trip. We're gonna have our eyes closed anyway, all the way to the end. So you know what I'm saying? Let the cameras do what they gonna do. It's the first time it's ever happened, but let it happen, because where we're going is to the contemplation of space itself. I have a kit tonight that I want to make sure you experience. And because I showed you a clip from Rupert Spira earlier today talking about space, you saw Jovan, we were contemplating space. This idea that space is what God looks like when it is seen from the perspective of the finite eyes, right? When it's seen from the perspective of the limited human senses. And so we're going to get back to this understanding of what space is, particularly as we define it with and define it by supreme awareness. I've taken all of what Rupert Spira, his entire discography, his entire corpus, his entire, basically every single thing that he's ever said, and I set it equal to one. I set it equal to the first step. And then we start moving into the Ion mind and some other steps that come later, but they're built on a foundation that Rupert is an expert in. And so tonight, that's why I big up Rupert in the book. In the back of the book, I got, you know what I'm saying? I'm literally thanking Rupert directly, because it's upon his work that these kits began to get developed. And so let's go ahead and get to it. Let's go ahead and get to it. By the way, folks, if you want to be on the Breakthrough Live, throw your ones in the chat and then be sure to be back here next week because we're taking on more people directly from the chat and having you directly on the show. And so let's go ahead and get to our practice for the evening. Here we go. Take 2 breaths with me. Inhale, exhale. Inhale, exhale. Everything becomes clear when we become aware. Close your eyes. And at this time, I want you to put your awareness on the body, on your total body. If you must, start with just your hands, placing your awareness inside of your hands. Notice your wrist, your fingers, your forearms, your shoulders. Notice how they connect with your torso, neck, head. Notice your legs. See if you can expand your awareness and simply hold the entire body in your awareness. You do not need to strain for this. Simply notice that you are aware and that the body is here now. At this time, put your awareness on your skin. See if you can simply become aware of the surface of your own skin. Even if you have to start with a small area, like the skin on the back of your hands, just place your awareness on the surface of your skin. Put your awareness right on the place where someone's hand would go were they to touch you. Excellent. And right now, put your awareness on the space just outside of the skin. It is as if your awareness is expanding from your skin to the space around your body itself. Simply become aware of the space around your body, the space just beyond your skin. Notice that to awareness is equally aware of your skin, your body, and the space around your body. From the perspective of your awareness, the space around your body and your body are one. That's because awareness is equally aware of the body and the space around the body. From the perspective of awareness is equally aware of your body, the space around your body, and all other bodies in your experience. Feel your awareness expand. Let your awareness expand out into the space of the room that you are in. From the perspective of awareness, the body, the space around the body, and the space of the room are all one. That's because awareness is equally aware of the body as it is of the space around the body and the space of the room. All exist in awareness. See, without this awareness, there would be no you. Which means that the real you and this awareness are one. Which means that the room, the space in the room, the space around the body, and the body all appear in you. As awareness, you are bigger than any of these. Because as awareness, all of these, the body, the space, the room, exist inside you. This oneness cannot be fragmented, only acknowledged. Rest in the awareness that knows body, that knows space, that knows the room, that knows all of experience. But is untouched by any experience. For awareness is simply aware. Awareness is simply aware. Take one breath in, inhale, exhale. And when you are ready, you may open your eyes. Folks, when it comes to fear, fear can only attack an individual, a body. But tonight, you've seen that you are more than a body, and that all bodies' experiences, the space that surrounds them, all of them appear in you, which means that you are bigger than anything that can ever happen. which is why if fear be our only enemy, then we bring heaven to earth when we transform our minds. I'm Dr. Shawn, and we were not sent to impress our people. We were sent to transform our people into a light for the world. For God's universe opens to all who believe in breakthrough.